So we're almost 2 weeks into the 2026 NBA season, and we've had a lot of surprising trends go on in the NBA right now, for good and for bad. So for today's video, I just kind of want to talk about what I think are the biggest surprising things going on in the NBA right now. I'll usually do a video talking about every team's most disappointing player, every team's most surprising player in a good way. That will come over the next few weeks, but right now, these have been kind of the most shocking things going on in the NBA right now, in my opinion. And if you have anything that's really just caught your eye this year, let me know down below. So the most surprising thing I think going on right now that we've kind of learned a little bit more about over the last 48 hours, what's going on with Ja Morant in Memphis. So if I made this video last week, I was not going to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies whatsoever. I think they've been pretty much as expected so far. But their NBA Cup game against the LA Lakers on Friday night was talked about for maybe all the wrong reasons, more so on Ja Morant, where the Grizzlies ended up losing 117-112, and Ja Morant went 3 of 14 in that game, played 31 minutes, but did not look engaged on the offensive end when the ball wasn't in his hands, and he did not look engaged defensively whatsoever. That even sparked Blake Griffin of the Amazon broadcast to call him out for his lack of effort. He's the highest paid player on the team. He's the franchise guy there, and he cannot be showing anything less than 100% effort on the floor right now. And then on Saturday, the Grizzlies suspended Ja Morant for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. He didn't have a good response to Tumas Isalo calling him out after the game because of his lack of effort. And now we're starting to feel a weird vibe shift in Memphis right now. Ja Morant was one of the more exciting players in the NBA a few years ago, but some of the off-the-court issues, some on-the-court issues in terms of injury and not wanting to play a certain style under Taylor Jenkins has really made this a weird dynamic in Memphis right now. And over the last few years too, we know that Ja Morant is most effective around the rim. He is driving a lot less at the rim. He is taking the lowest percent of his shots at the rim in his career right now, and it's been going down every single year over the last 6 years of his career, basically. They already traded away Desmond Bane in the 2025 offseason. That trade right now looks like it was a smart decision. Memphis was not going to contend in the Western Conference with some of the juggernauts at the top, so they recouped some draft capital, and they got one of the Phoenix Suns first round picks in that trade as well. So they're going to have that as ammo to kind of retool in the offseason. But where does Ja Morant fit on this team going forward? Like, Ja Morant played really good against the Phoenix Suns in the game before the LA Lakers, but will this start to snowball into something bigger? Ja Morant is under contract this year at $39 million, $42 million in 2027, and $44 million in 2028. And now we're starting to hear rumblings that maybe he could be the next guy getting traded here in Memphis, just because we've maybe hit the ceiling with Ja Morant as the guy here. But when you look across the NBA, who is giving up valuable assets for Ja Morant right now when he's not the same player, at least at the moment, that he was a few years ago? And will he even be happy on your team right now? Will you have to extend him? Like, yeah, you could point out Miami or Toronto or Sacramento, but does that even really make sense right now? And I thought there was a chance that this could become a thing throughout the season. Ja Morant and Memphis, just kind of on the timelines they're on right now, could go in a different direction at one point over the next calendar year. I didn't think it was going to happen this soon. And yeah, how is he feeling after the suspension? Will he just kind of change his attitude and be more locked in throughout the rest of the season? Like, Memphis is only off to a 3-3 start. They could be a lot worse than this right now. But if this is the way your star player is going to act, it could be a weird dynamic in Memphis over the course of the regular season. So Memphis right now has some of the worst vibes maybe in the NBA surrounding their star player. How about a team with maybe some of the best vibes in the NBA? Who expected the Chicago Bulls to start off 5-0? And I don't think this is like a Mickey Mouse 5-0 either. They beat Detroit in their first game of the season. They beat Orlando by double digits. They beat the Atlanta Hawks, the Sacramento Kings, and the New York Knicks by double digits as well. And the Bulls have one of the more deeper benches in the NBA. They're 5-0 right now without Kobe White playing, who's a top player on this roster. Josh Giddey looks like he's getting better and better. The Bulls were one of the better second half teams in the NBA last year, and they're carrying that momentum over to the regular season this year. Josh Giddey's averaging 22 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, shooting 48% from the field and 45% from 3. Matas Buzelis is taking a step so far in year number 2, averaging 16 points to start off the season. And Nikola Vucevic is picking up where he left off last year. I know Bulls fans really don't want to see him in Chicago anymore, but the guy's averaging 20 and 12 and shooting 50% from 3. He's been a winning player for Chicago this year. But like I said before, it's been more so their depth that has been stepping up for Chicago this year. They have one of the best benches in the NBA, only going to look even better when they bring back Kobe White into the fold, and they can now really strategically play Ayo Dosunmu, Kevin Huerter, Trae Jones, Patrick Williams, Jalen Smith, Isaac Okoro. These guys have stepped up on both ends of the floor. Now, I'm not going to overreact and say that Chicago is going to win the Eastern Conference, but if you went to 99% of outlets, or you looked at any type of prediction going into the season, for the most part, Chicago was either a play-in tournament team or not making the play-in in general. Now, what are we expecting Chicago to be through through the rest of the season? Could they be a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference? Can they just get a non-playing tournament spot when we get to April? Or are they going to kind of come back down to earth a little bit and be a playing tournament team? I mean, they're the 5th best offense and a top 10 defense this year as well. Nobody expected them to be a top 10 defense whatsoever. And this is all without Kobe White and their lottery pick playing Noah Essengay. So vibes are high in Chicago. Maybe this is going to be the highest they are all year. I've just kind of seen this in the past where Chicago overachieves and it really hurts their draft stock. I hope we don't look at this part of the season where Chicago eventually fizzles out. They wish they lost a couple more games that we can kind of point back to this hot start. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I've been enjoying watching the Chicago Bulls. Their benches look great. Giddey and Buzelis have been a really fun dynamic this year. And I only think they're going to get more entertaining when Kobe White gets back. Another team that has sky-high vibes right now, the Philadelphia 76ers, who got off to a 4-0 start. They did lose a heartbreaker against the Boston Celtics last Friday for their first loss of the season. But this team also has immaculate vibes right now. This season could have ended up being a disaster if they didn't get off to a great start. Who knows if Nick Nurse was going to get let go. But this team has been one of the more exciting teams in the NBA because Tyrese Maxey is playing like an all-NBA guard right now. This may be Tyrese Maxey's team at the moment and for the foreseeable future. Maxey's averaging 35 points per game to start off the season. He's shooting 46% from the field, doing what he can do with his right hand at the rim and his floater. He's also shooting 47% from 3 on about 10 attempts a game. He's attacking closeouts at an elite level. His catch and shoot numbers are off the charts. He's getting to the free throw line double-digit times a game, and he's shooting 87% from the line. So you may think, okay, he's not averaging that many assists. No, he's averaging 9.5 assists as well. Tyrese Maxey is taking a leap this year. I thought he was going to do that last year, but he got injured at the start of the year. The Sixers were all out of whack last year with all the injuries they had. This year, though, things are turning around for the city of brotherly love. And it's not just Maxey. VJ Edgecombe, the rookie, the 3rd overall pick, is averaging 21 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game. Now, I don't think he's going to shoot 44% from 3 this year on 6.5 attempts, but you have to be so happy right now if you're a 76ers fan, if you're that front office, because Edgecombe looks like a home run pick at the moment. Quentin Grimes is looking like a great scoring 2 guard again like he did in the second half of the last year's season. And the vibes are really high with Jared McCain not even playing yet this year, Paul George not even playing yet this year, and Joel Embiid still being on a minutes restriction. Adem Bona has made some highlight-worthy plays. Kelly Oubre is stepping up as a role player for this team. I'm just keeping an eye on Philadelphia because how does this dynamic, how do the vibes look, how do the rotations look when McCain is healthy, when Paul George is healthy? That is the big one because he was not great for Philadelphia last year. How do you change the dynamic right now? Do you play Paul George 30 minutes a night because he's getting paid $50 million a year? Will that change up their momentum at the moment? And how does this team look when Embiid is off the minutes restriction and he's probably demanding the most shots a night? Because Maxey's taking 23 shots per game. That's not going to stay the same throughout the regular season. I do think that's probably going to drop below 20 at one point. I don't think Edgecombe is going to take 16 shots a night when McCain, Paul George, and Embiid are healthy. But what if this team exceeds expectations? They stay healthy. The young guys step up. The East is still wide open right now. They could be a top 3 seed. Not a lot of people expected that going into the season. But there's a few Eastern Conference teams where the vibes are not as good as Chicago and Philadelphia right now, and that's the Orlando Magic, who got off to a slow start this year. They're 3-4 at the moment. Their wins were against Miami on opening night. Then they ended up beating the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards. They lost games to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Detroit Pistons, and the Chicago Bulls. Maybe some of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. But this offense is still trying to figure itself out at the moment. They are a bottom 10 offensive team to start off the year, a bottom 10 defensive team. Maybe people expected them to be a below average offensive team, not this bad, and definitely people expected them to be a much better defensive team at the moment. And a lot of that has been the Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner dynamic. Paolo's shot diet to start off the year was not what you wanted it to be. He was settling for jumpers. He was operating out of the mid-range and the three-point line when you want your 6'10", 250-pound freight train forward to attack the rim, finish inside. He's going to get fouled a ton. He's going to finish with contact in the paint. I don't want him acting like he's Kevin Durant or Carmelo Anthony out there. And he's still trying to kind of figure out this dynamic now with a little bit of a different team from last year. Franz Wagner has played really good when he's been on the floor as well this year. He's also shooting 44% from 3. I'm hoping whatever happened in Germany in the Eurobasket this summer fixed his shot, because if Franz Wagner learns how to shoot, he's almost a complete player in this league for what he can do as a playmaker, as a defender, and as a downhill attacker. We just needed to see him take strides as a three-point shooter. It's weird that Desmond Bane is shooting just 25% from 3 this year as well. And this team is kind of trying to figure figure out what are the best lineup iterations going forward. They're pretty much at full strength right now, only missing Mo Wagner, but I thought there was a chance Orlando could win 50 games, and they still can. It's so early in the year, but I'm a little concerned how this Paolo Banchero offensive dynamic is going to look. He's too smart of a player. It's too smart of an organization to not try to change Paolo's shot diet and get it where it should be over the course of the season. I think it's something to keep an eye on right now. They can go on a winning streak. They could be at the top of the Eastern Conference in 2 weeks from now. It's just a little bit of a concerning start. A couple other concerning starts right now we have in the Western Conference, and by teams that don't even have their first round picks. Now, I talked a ton about the New Orleans Pelicans in my last video. If you want to go check that out, if you're interested to see my thoughts on the Pelicans at the moment. The Sacramento Kings have been one of the weirder teams this season. They are 2-4 to start off the year. They just had a very impressive win against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks on Saturday. But I've seen Russell Westbrook start at power forward this year. I've seen undrafted rookie Dylan Cardwell start in this lineup as well. He did that against the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't know if Doug Christie doesn't know what he's doing, or they're just trying out so many different lineup iterations right now. But we're seeing this team not hit the panic button at the start of the year, but all hands are on deck. Keegan Murray was out with the hand injury to start off the year, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he will be back sooner than later. They lost Nick Clifford at the start of the season with a hamstring injury. He recently came back, but besides those guys, they've been fairly full strength right now. And when they're on, when these guys are connecting, I actually enjoy watching the Kings offense unfold, even though they're at the bottom of the NBA in offensive rating, because they have not been clicking as much as you would like them to this year. It's a weird dynamic out there with Domantas Sabonis, a non-shooter. DeMar DeRozan isn't a good enough three-point shooter out there. Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, these guys are way too inconsistent as three-point shooters right now. I know Russ is shooting well from three this year, but can you rely on Russ to actually shoot 45% from three this year? Zach LaVine has been off to a great start. It's basically like 30 points on 50, 40, 90 splits, but he's got a negative net rating right now. I think this team has a ton of individual talent at the moment. I don't think it gels whatsoever. At least they have their first round pick, unlike some other teams at the bottom of the Western Conference right now. But just like watching Russell Westbrook start at power forward in the year 2025, having to rely on an undrafted free agent to just start a game for you is kind of weird. I know we didn't play a ton in that game, but it's still, what is going on in Sacramento? Will this be what we're going to see from them throughout the course of the year? Will they change drastically when Keegan Murray comes back? I think they're a big surprise so far. And Dallas also has been at the bottom of the Western Conference. I made a video on them a couple videos ago to go check that out. And the Phoenix Suns have been not off to the best start this year. They've been without Dylan Brooks for some games. Jalen Green has yet to debut for them. They also don't own their first round pick at the end of the year. I think it's a team to watch. I may want to go to a full video next on this specific player, but he has to be one of the more surprising players in general. Ryan Rollins of the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, he may actually be the reason why Giannis Antetokounmpo is a Buck for life. What a hit this guy was for them as a two-way contract a year and a half ago, and he is now going to be a starter for Milwaukee throughout the rest of the season. When Kevin Porter Jr. comes back, you cannot start him. Ryan Rollins is legit. 23 years old. He was actually in that Jordan Poole Chris Paul trade. He ended up going from the Warriors to the Wizards. The Wizards released him, and the Bucks actually picked him up. Like, I know we give the Bucks a lot of flack for their lack of drafting ability since basically Giannis, but they did a great job evaluating the talent of Ryan Rollins, who was averaging 18 points, 5 assists, 3.5 rebounds this year. He's shooting 52% from the field, 44% from three, and 88% from the free throw line. He plays great on-ball defense. He's somebody that can be your main point of attack defender, your stopper on the perimeter. Like, what an absolute home run pickup for the Milwaukee Bucks. He looks like he could be a serviceable point guard for them throughout the regular season. I think he's exactly who you want in the playoffs if he's going to be this efficient. I get a little worrisome when he's got the ball in his hands late in the game as well. It could be a little bit reckless like it was against the Golden State Warriors. But hey, he had 32 points in that game, and he knocked down 5 threes. Ryan Rollins has been one of the best storylines in this season by far. I also feel like it's been a weird start for the Atlanta Hawks so far. They recently lost Trae Young for 4 weeks with a knee injury, and now we're going to see who could step up on this team right now without Trae Young, because Dyson Daniels got off to a little bit of a slower start this year. He looked really good on Halloween when they beat the Indiana Pacers. Maybe not the most impressive win, but hey, they took care of business. We're going to see more shots go to Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kristaps Porzingis. They deployed a really fun lineup against the Indiana Pacers where it's just so many good defenders that could switch, that can guard multiple guys on the perimeter and in the paint. And Bill Simmons talks about this a ton, the Ewing theory, where sometimes you may play better without your star player. Could that end up happening in Atlanta, who also got off to a little bit of a slower start? They're 3-3 right now. They still have a negative net rating at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up in the absence of Trae Young. I'm going to assume it's going to be Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis, but they definitely want to see Dyson Daniels off that contract extension mention in the 2024 #1 overall pick, Zachary Reese-Shea, take that leap as well. They're a team to definitely keep an eye on over the next few weeks until Trae Young returns, because Trae, it's also a free agent at the end of the year. Like we already talked about Morant in this video. What if him and Trae Young are on different teams at the start of the 2027 season? One of the bigger surprises by so far, in a good way, the Miami Heat's offense this year. Not a lot of people expected them to be a top 15, maybe even a top 20 offensive team right now. And currently, they're a top 10 offense in the league. And Tyler Hero has yet to play a game. Norman Powell has missed a game. They're also playing a little bit different than some other teams as well. They're barely running any pick and roll. It's a lot of isolations in the half court. And that's what Spo has kind of transitioned to get the most out of this team. He knows there's some offensive limitations when you look into every individual player, but as a collective unit, it is working right now. Getting guys in isolation, getting them downhill, allowing these guys to attack the rim, but also playing to the strengths of Norman Powell, who's a great three-point shooter. Guys like Simone Fontecchio, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez have stepped up this year for Miami. And like I said, Tyler Hero has yet to play a game for this team right now, and they're currently ranked 7th in offensive rating in the NBA. I'm really excited to see what this team looks like at full strength, because most people had them as maybe the 6th seed at the highest, but mostly a play-in tournament team in the Eastern Conference. What if this team is just a top 3 seed? Because we can never doubt Coach Spo and the Miami Heat. And then lastly, 2 surprises, maybe the inconsistencies of these 2 teams in their respective conference. First off, I want to talk about my New York Knicks. They are off to a 2-3 start. And if they lose to the Chicago Bulls today, I may sound the alarm a little bit. Now, they've been pretty much average in terms of their offense, in terms of their defense. Like, their 3 losses are against 3 respectable teams in the Heat, the Bulls, and the Milwaukee Bucks. But you definitely would have liked them to get off a little bit of a better start this year. Jalen Brunson has been great. Mikal Bridges has been great. Karl-Anthony Towns is struggling to adapt a little bit in this Mike Brown new offense. And a lot of their free agency pickups not stepping up whatsoever. Jordan Clarkson has not been a good shooter this year. Gershon Yabusele does not look like he should be in an NBA rotation right now. Landry Shamet isn't knocking down his three-point looks when they matter. And Josh Hart has been one of the more disappointing players to start off the year, shooting 21% from the field, 10% from 3, and averaging 2.8 points per game in 4 appearances. Now, Josh Hart is hurt. He's playing through injuries right now, so I'm not going to say that this is what we're going to see from Josh Hart throughout the rest of the year, but they need to rely on Josh Hart. He's one of the more important players on the Knicks roster, and if he's going to play like this, maybe they just need him to sit out for a little bit, get a little bit healthier down the stretch, because the Knicks right now do not look like one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference that we all expected them to be. And lastly, the Golden State Warriors. I know they lost to the Portland Trailblazers earlier in the year, but after they beat the Clippers and were off to a 4-1 start, I legitimately thought that this team could be maybe the 2 seed or the 3 seed in the Western Conference. But then they proceed to lose to the Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks. That was the Ryan Rollins game we talked about earlier. And then they just lost to the Indiana Pacers, basically G League team, where Quentin Jackson gave them 25 points, and they handed the Pacers their first win of the year. They blew a lead in the 4th quarter. They got outscored by 11 points in the 4th. They lost 114-109. And now the Warriors are just 4-3 on the season. They definitely need more out of Al Horford offensively. Moses Moody hasn't been off to the greatest start this year. Buddy Hield is not knocking down his threes. Quentin Post, you do not trust in the paint whatsoever as an offensive player, because the top guys have stepped up for Golden State. But right now, as a collective team, they're on a little bit of a slide. We'll see how this looks going forward, and will they be able to put it all together. So that is gonna be it for me. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know if there's any other surprising things going on in the NBA season that have caught your eye. If you enjoy videos like this, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. All my links are in the description: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Let me know if you want to see maybe a Ryan Rollins dedicated video this week. I think that'd be really fun to do. And we'll also be dropping my top 30 prospects for the 2026 draft, the early season version, because the college season starts tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Got an exciting announcement this week. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.